According to academics, a hill in Bosnia is actually a pyramid that was built 32,000 years ago. Unknown tunnels can also be discovered close to the pyramid. The startling date was discovered by radiocarbon dating studies on materials discovered in one of the enigmatic tunnels. Dr. Samir Osmanagic, the researcher, claims that the material came from stalagmites in the recently found tunnels. He thinks the same unidentified society that constructed the pyramids also excavated the tunnels more than 30,000 years ago. The assertions are highly debatable. When the existence of the purported Bosnian pyramid was revealed in 2007, it generated a global sensation. The massive hill in the town of Visoko may be a disguised pyramid, according to research. They claim that archaeologists will undoubtedly discover evidence of human architecture if they excavate on the hill's slopes. But more than 15 years have passed and no concrete evidence has been discovered. The sole material used in the new dating is stalagmites, which are naturally occurring characteristics found inside caverns. However, that hasn't prevented travelers from arriving. A few years ago, Osmanagic claims there were no tourists in Visoko. However, today visitors come from all over the world to see the enigmatic pyramid. People who have ventured inside the tunnels surrounding the pyramid claim to have been magically cured of stomach problems and allergies. The tunnels are known to have therapeutic qualities. Flying machines in nuclear war are mentioned in ancient Hindu literature. There are descriptions of aeroplanes that sound a lot like the aircraft in the Bible found in Hindu Sanskrit scriptures written centuries ago. Ezekiel is given a vision in the book of Ezekiel where he sees flying whales in the sky that are moving at incredible speeds and releasing vibrant colors. Scribes in the Middle Ages saw them as angelic creatures. However, modern academics speculate that Ezekiel might have seen alien spacecraft in the sky during his vision. Hindu religion describes unidentified flying aircraft in remarkably comparable ways. They were referred to as Vimanas, and the old Vedic texts even included illustrations of them. On mechanical hovering gadgets, you can observe the image of flying vessels that resemble enormous cities. Furthermore, several scripts include specifics on the components required to run the devices. They speak of strange liquids and quicksilver, which is mercury. Scholar Eric von Daniken reports of UFOs. Most ancient astronaut theories agree that Indians saw and communicated with extraterrestrial beings. The most popular image of Shiva, the greatest of the Indian gods, shows him soaring atop a bird called Garuda. However, Garuda is always shown looking like an airplane. Garuda is credited for carrying Shiva to many locations around the cosmos, dropping bombs and traveling to the moon. And then there's the whole nuclear war issue. The seventh book of the Holy Mahabharata is called the Drone Parva. It could be compared to the Bible in Hindu translation. There is a description of an atomic bomb destroying a civilization in this book. A single missile that resembles a lightning bolt striking the earth is described in the text. With the might of 1,000 suns, the projectile burst, unleashing the might of the cosmos. Then a red cloud of fire engulfed the sky, and thousands of birds fell from it. Warriors' flesh transformed into metal armor, and in a second, entire kingdoms vanished. When you combine these hints, it seems very likely that the planet formerly had a highly developed society. It was obvious they had access to aviation technology. After that, they detonated an atomic bomb on the entire planet before leaving. A divisive artifact split the Paris scientific community in 1896. The tiara was purportedly discovered near Oblia, Ukraine. An inscription on the tiara described the object as a gift from Oblia, a Greek colony at the time. Additionally, it was made for King Siapfernes of Scythia in the 3rd century BC. Russia produced much coveted art and artifacts during the end of the 19th century. The truth about Scythian horse kings of the steppes has recently come to light thanks to archaeological research. Institutions such as museums were eager to acquire any artifacts related to the enigmatic ancient warriors. However, as the tiara was initially displayed in Vienna in February 1896, no one was aware of the location of its excavation. The tiara weighed roughly 1 pound and stood 7 inches tall. Made of pure gold, it was adorned with scenes from Scythian culture. It also featured a picture of King Agamemnon and the warrior Achilles from Homer's fabled Iliad. The Louvre did not buy the tiara, but 2 institutions did. As soon as they purchased the relic, they felt ashamed. Scientists who examined the relic and declared it to be phony continued to make fun of the Louvre for almost 10 years after Professor Vasovsky denounced the tiara as a fake. The tiara was in excellent shape, but the museum insisted it was. The tiara's remarkable condition of preservation was its main flaw. It was in far too nice of shape. Additionally, it bore the marks of contemporary soldering and tools. Despite the skillful concealment of these hints, Israel Rahamovsky, a man, acknowledged making the tiara himself in 1903. The person who sold it to the Louvre conned him by pretending that he was buying the tiara for an archaeologist friend. The Louvre didn't take the artifact down from the exhibit until after that. The tiara is still theirs, though. A wonderful illustration of how archaeology may be influenced in the tiara of Siap ferns. Not only was the artifact misdated, but it was also fake. Standing 12 feet tall, the Heavener runestone in Oklahoma is a massive block of sandstone. The stone slab bears numerous symbols that have been linked to the Vikings. The locals referred to it as Indian rock for the first century following its discovery. They believed that the Choctaw Native Americans had penned the inscriptions. Then, in 1928, Gloria Farley, a perceptive young child, came to see the stone and became enthralled by it. When Gloria returned in 1951 as a lady and scholar, she was determined to unravel the stone's secrets. She didn't believe that any indigenous cultures created the symbols on the rock. She was certain that Oklahoma-based Viking explorers had erected the stone. That would have been 500 years before Christopher Columbus discovered America in the 11th century. She thought the stone was made by the Vikings as a memorial to their new location. More academics have looked at the stone over time. The characters on it were recognized as Scandinavian by the Smithsonian Institution. It was also generally accepted by 1986 that the runes mean glow metal or glows valley. However, not everyone is persuaded by the stone's interpretations. Some find the Viking story of how they arrived in Arkansas to be too fantastical. The Norsemen would have sailed up the Arkansas River into the Great Plains to arrive at the present-day city of Heavener, Oklahoma. The problem is, there's no evidence that they actually accomplished that. Another vision holds that a French traveler from the 17th century engraved the stone. In the 18th century, it might have even been a Swedish commander. The experts are divided on the authenticity of the runestone. However, Gloria Farley's perseverance led to the creation of a 50-acre state park in 1970 surrounding the runestone. At the border of Poteau Mountain and its vast woodlands, the runestone remains intact even now. Italy was shook by a series of earthquakes in January 1913. Numerous structures were devastated and an estimated 30,000 people perished. A structure that sustained damage in the earthquake was Montepello's Church of St. Michael. Unknown to the public, the little church had a long history that stretched back to the early Middle Ages. The church acquired a mysterious item of worship around 1638. They stored it in a sturdy cask secured with 3 padlocks. The object was removed only twice a year so pilgrims might view its magnificence. The Montepello veil is that item. However, it's unclear how it came to the church in the 17th century. It appeared out of nowhere. The relic was then relocated to a new location following the earthquake so that anyone could see it whenever they wished. Abruptly, the veils were becoming more and more fashionable. A man's face is printed on a piece of cloth that serves as the veil. It is thought that the cloth covered Jesus Christ's face in his tomb following his crucifixion. Then, upon Jesus Christ's resurrection, his face appeared miraculously on the fabric. The face looks its finest when it is illuminated from the appropriate angle by a brilliant, pale light. But the veil is surrounded by a tempest of criticism. Paul Bad, a German journalist, thinks it's the actual thing. He believes that the Veronica shroud housed in the Vatican is a replica, and the original shroud resides in Montepello. However, it has never been accurately dated and its origins are not documented. Many therefore believe it to be phony for these reasons. A skull from the mid-1800s was found in a mining shaft 130 feet below the surface in Calaveras County, not far from Angel's Camp. Josiah Whitney gave a presentation to the California Academy of Natural Sciences in 1866 regarding his research on the enigmatic skull. Josiah wasn't just any old guy. He was the head of the state's geological survey. He thought that this skull belonged to the earliest known human. He justified this by pointing out that the skull was discovered buried beneath old gravel. The gravels were hidden beneath layers of volcanic rock that might be dated back several million years ago. At the same time, the skull's provenance, from a person who lived in California millions of years ago, was the only explanation that made sense. All that is known about the evolution of humans would be altered if a skull that old was found in North America. Currently accepted theories state that humans originated in Africa approximately 3 million years ago. It is estimated by archaeologists that until about 30,000 years ago, give or take a few thousand years, no single species of human ever set foot in North America. All known knowledge regarding human creation would have been overturned by this skull. The individual who discovered the skull was not Josiah Whitney. A handful of individuals who said they found it in theirs sent it to him. After interviewing the two finders, Josiah concluded that they were both honorable guys. The skull was then housed in Harvard's Peabody Museum after it was determined to be the oldest human remains ever discovered. However, 30 years later, William H. Holmes, a skeptic scientist at the Smithsonian Institution, started to worry. He returned to the location of the skull and continued his excavation. In addition to ancient human relics like stone tools, he also recovered animal fossils from extinct species. However, the stone tools appeared to have been made by early California Native Americans. Additionally, Holmes discovered, upon closer examination, that the skull belonged to a Native American. He honestly believed that the skull was not from a primitive human species. It was deliberately buried in the mine so that it would be discovered and dated. In the 1800s, it was impossible to determine the skull's exact age. The cranium wasn't dated back more than a millennium until researchers had access to carbon dating in 1992. Not as old as millions of years, as Josiah Whitney thought. There are many who contend that the pyramids at Guards are not nearly as mysterious as the arrogant Sphinx of Giza. For more than 4,500 years, the massive cat-like monster has been perched in front of the pyramids. There are many who believe it was constructed above the entrance to a hidden library containing countless mysterious secrets. Some, however, think that the Bible's depiction of the deluge is demonstrated by its worn sides. There are even rumors that the Sphinx was built by a society that existed before the Egyptians, making it a remnant of a bygone era. Robert Scotch, a geologist at Boston University, believes that the Sphinx might perhaps be older than archaeologists have ever thought. Robert says the Sphinx demonstrates indisputable deterioration from rain. Rain fell when the Nile was a very different location. It would have required a considerably more humid climate than what has existed for the last 5,000 years. Thus, the Sphinx had to have been built before Giza became a harsh desert. Furthermore, the pyramids do not exhibit the weathering that Robert claims to be able to notice with the Sphinx. The pyramids would have experienced the same level of erosion if there had been enough rain to cause the Sphinx to erode. According to Robert, the Sphinx is much older. He thinks it's the oldest monument in Egypt, in reality. According to him, it was probably built around 5000 and 7000 BC. He cannot, however, determine with certainty who built it. Star maps were created by an astronomer in ancient China, long before human eyes ever looked through a telescope. The earliest known manuscript of the night sky is the Dunhuang star chart. The British Library estimates that it was created in central China around 700 AD. More than 1,300 stars are visible on the map, which was no small accomplishment. Take a glance up at the sky in your backyard and attempt to draw an accurate map of the 1,300 celestial objects and their movements across the heavens. It's as difficult a chore as it seems. The map was designed to show the curving sky on a sheet of paper that was flat. The system has striking similarities to one invented by Gerardus Mercator, the Flemish cartographer of the 16th century, who used it to create maps 1,000 years after the Chinese had done so. The zodiac number of 12 is represented by the division of the sky into 12 segments of the map. It also displays the globe's north polar area looking directly up at the cosmos. The map was found in a hidden Buddhist cave, as if it could be any more enigmatic. In 1900, a sealed cave was discovered in China. It had spent the last 9 centuries sealed up like a tomb. However, there were some 40,000 manuscripts with information on everything from astronomy to the Silk Road trade inside the dusty cave. Such a star map does not appear in any other astronomical document. Additionally, scientists are still perplexed as to how someone with such proficiency in astronomy could have done it without the use of more sophisticated technology.